All right. All right, let me pull up our script and we'll get going here. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Carver Team Go Team meeting, where we will follow the agenda that we emailed out. I'm pleased to call this meeting of the Carver Team Go Team to order. Our first order of business is to call roll. Our secretary is out, and so I can call roll real quick. All right. So we have Mr. Fuller.
Present.
Miss Wells. Queen La Rosa Harden Green. Tara Morton. Adam Stanley is here. Teresa Hunter. Marsha. Miss Williams.
Here.
All right. Devron Woodruff.
Present.
Miss Peppers.
Here.
And Jamin White.
Here.
And Daria Hughley. Sorry, I call her Daria Hughley for some reason. Daria Hughley. And Jonathan Logan. All right, we have 4, and then we do have quorum. We have 5 of our 8 voting members that are present, and so we will go ahead and continue. Do we have our first order of business is to approve our agenda. Do we have a, I believe it was provided to you in an email and that it's posted online. Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Anybody motion to approve our agenda for this meeting?
I approve. I motion to approve.
All right, thank you, Ms. Peppers. Is there a second?
Yeah, I second the motion.
All right. And all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
And all opposed say nay. Any opposition? Okay. Unanimous. All right, and then the next order of business, I believe, is to approve the meetings from our, we'll review and approve the meetings from our last meeting. I have not seen the meetings from our last meeting. I need to get with Ms. Hunter and see if she was able to get those. And so we don't have minutes to approve from our previous meeting, so we will push that to our next meeting. And then we'll get to our discussion items. So let me pull up our real quick here. All right. Sorry. Here it is. Okay. So our discussion items, we are going to review the budget development process. And it's a little bit different for partner schools and charter schools. And then the budget, Mr. Fuller is going to present the budget and then share some of that, and he'll do his principals report. He'll follow that up as well. So that's what our first discussion item is. Oh, I'm sorry, I need to back up real quick. When we looked at the strategic plan, this would have been last year. We looked at the strategic plan. We ranked it Do you guys remember when we did that? And let me see if I can find our minutes from that meeting. So we can see what the rankings were for that one. Because that's what we need to review as we always have in mind for our budget meeting, or the Mr. Fuller's budget presentation. Not there. But if I recall, attendance came out of it.
I think it was like attendance is number 1, student achievement number 2, and then I think graduation was like the 3rd, but I'm not positive. I think we definitely can check. But I feel like
It was, okay, I see it. It's increase the percent of content mastery on milestone test, increase percent student daily attendance, and increase graduation rate. So yeah, those are the 3, Mr. Fuller, you're right. So those are that's the lens which we are looking at this the budget with those strategic goals in mind. And so at this point, Mr. Fuller, I'll just turn it over to you if that's all right. If you want to share a little bit about what our budget is looking like, or
yeah, for sure. So the way the budget works for purpose-built schools is that, like in a traditional school, you have like X million dollars just for the school. It is at the principal's discretion somewhat how the funds are used. At personal schools, the budgets are already done for us. So I want to, just put that out there. The budget's already been allocated for what we'll utilize it for. I can give you like kind of the main buckets of the preliminary ideas around what the budget will be in for next year. And so as a small school, we kind of have a small budget. Schools are, multi-million-dollar organizations, but as a school, I have a fraction of the organization's budget I can allocate to Carver's team. And so in the first major line item of the budget, we have what is under the realms of instruction. And so what goes for instruction is classroom furniture, classroom supplies and paper, instructional equipment, library and media, and then anything else miscellaneous to do with instruction, one-off materials, etc. So we've allocated approximately $66,000 for instructional purchases starting July 24, moving through the school year. And so we've allocated that portion of our budget, around $66,000, to instructional purposes only. Not saying that we're only going to have that much focus on instruction, but that's the allotment right now. And this will kind of lead into my principal's report of what kind of like determines the numbers a little bit. Next, we talk about school culture. And so off the top, one of our big focuses for next year will be the student experience. And so we allotted approximately $31,000 to focus solely on the student experience for next year. And so that means, whatever we do with that to get creative. And this is because we have people on this call who are also involved in like wraparound services and especially when we start talking about engaging the community to further the student experience, we've allotted around $31,000 just to focus on building school culture, to create a more positive space, and to uplift our students and to create a good experience for them. We'll see. Next, we look at services. Probably not important stuff, but we have money allotted for like postage and shipping, which don't impact anything to do with students. That's more of our school business. Enrichment services, so our platforms our platforms are used during the opportunity of engagement with students in the recovery block. We have allotted approximately $2,000 for that, which is to reduce subscriptions for our programs, for our online platforms. For school-based community engagement, so there are whole different school-based community events where we can invite the communities in, like our back to school bash, block parties, one Carver block party events, etc. We've allotted approximately $8,000 for that, where we'll be able to host multiple events to engage the community. Also, we hold these events. We do partner with a lot of individuals, like Columbia Residential, who help fund these events for us. And so we do, that even though it doesn't seem like a lot, we make sure that we will make sure we do host multiple events, and we do fund some of those events as well. last but not least, we want to talk about our coaching and staff PD opportunities, conferences, etc. We've allotted approximately $20,000 for coaching and development of our teachers for next year, and that's based on our current enrollment, along with the amount of teachers, which could then change that number. But right now,
You were breaking up there for a minute. You're good now.
sorry about that. Right now we've allotted that number. And then that will actually round out the entire budget. So it only consists of like those 6 buckets. And so that is the budget that we utilize at the school level at Carver STEAM for the 2023-24 school year. That will be our budget for next year. Are there any comments, questions, concerns around that? All right. Well, we'll go ahead and dive into the principal report. I imagine, Mr. Stanley.
Yes, yeah, we can do the principal's report.
All right, cool. And so going to give you a couple updates of where we're at as a school right now. So one thing we're focusing on is graduation rate. And so graduation rate is a consistent rolling number. It engages a lot of different avenues like viable transfers, kids who are working on completing courses. So right now, as far as our approximate number, we're hovering in the high 60s, almost 70% graduation rate. And obviously that doesn't include students who are it doesn't include kids who have either transferred out and who are at a viable transfer school. It also does not include kids who are working on coursework for graduation. So right now, as far as viable graduation, we're at around 68.9% and going up. And so that's exciting because we still have several students who are at Phoenix Academy. We have several students who are at on their last few courses via Carver STEAM. We have students who are transferring to different programs, etc. So the approximation, I'm not going to, as our goal, our school-wide goal is 80% graduation rate for the 22-23 school year. I'm very excited and optimistic that we will reach that number. I do think we'll exceed that number. So I'm excited for that. The next item we want to discuss, which between next week and through April 28th, is a huge push for student enrollment. And so we started a different registration process that we're working on here. And so starting on March 14th, scholars will be able to start selecting to enroll at Carver STEAM Academy, as well as the other school across the campus. And so our big push as an organization is to ensure that we garner as many students from our community as possible to enroll at Carver STEAM. We do believe that we're the community school, and that with that, we want to increase our enrollment. Like more students means more opportunities for staff and for kids. And so we want to ensure that we land as many ninth graders as possible. So we're going to be throughout the month of March and April. We do have several events planned that will encompass recruiting students. Well, I don't want to say recruiting, exposing families and students to the options we have. We've increased our course load and our offerings for scholars and our pathways. And so it's important that we get the message out by getting into the faces of families. So we'll be attending 2 different parent nights and student nights at Sylvan Hills Middle School, as well as Price Middle School, and hosting different tours and events that'll be on our website starting next week. And we'll send flyers home with families at our feeder schools to ensure they're aware of the dates and the opportunities to be engaged by the Carver STEAM staff who's recruiting students, or I say making students aware of the opportunities. And so we're excited for that. But those are the big pieces of work for this month that we're consistently being engaged in. We just took MAP exams today. So I'm excited to see what we're where we're at. Previously, we had the second highest growth in the entire district for entire Atlanta public schools on algebra from fall to winter. And so winter to spring, we're expecting to see similar high growth, high achievement from our students. And so we're aiming for that. And that would encompass my entire principal's report.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Does anybody have any questions for anything that Mr. Fuller just discussed or shared?
Does Carver have a parent teacher association or no?
So we are working on establishing and I actually have my parent liaison on here. Part of we're working on establishing an official parent teacher association, but we do have like parent engagement groups. But to establish an official PTA is a like an application process and an enrollment process. So in the future, our goal is to, but we do have parent engagement events and parent engagement like principal coffee talks where we do engage our parents on a bi-monthly basis. And so we do have several opportunities to engage the families, but we do need to grow to a PTA. It just is an actual, it's a
Okay.
Mr. Fuller, you said that was one of the goals that we have is to get a PTA. Do you have any idea if that'll be sometime next year that you think we'd be applying for that? Or is it in the more distant future?
ideally sometime next year.
Right.
So, in my first year, it was about exposure and creating a culture. And then I think that just in our talks, we're shifting to student experience, community engagement, parent outreach, and parent involvement.
What additional things are you guys doing at the school to make sure we hit that 80% graduation rate?
Oh yeah. So the way what we do is we actually have like intimate relationships with our students. And what I mean by that is that we have an entire graduation team that meets once a week to track this process. We've accounted for every single student, right? And so every student is connected to a counselor who has a graduation cohort caseload. And so students are coded in red, yellow, and green. Green mean you're good to go. Yellow mean you're on the bubble. Red mean you got a little bit of work to do. So every single student has a plan, and they're connected, and that counselor connects with students all throughout the entire week. And so when when our counselors are holding the graduation meeting, they report out on what their caseload is doing. And so right now we can speak for every student verbatim of what their process is and how close they are to the finish line. If students are far away from the finish line, then hold on one second, please. If our students are far away from the finish line, then what we aim to do is to get into a viable option that's more realistic to them. And so when I reference that, it'll mean like if a student is far away from graduation, we engage the family saying, hey, like we want your student to have like a future, and we believe that graduation is still possible. So we may refer them to a different program if they're far away from graduation to ensure they don't just fall on the wayside. But we ensure that we're doing our best to ensure that every kid leaves an actual plan. And it's not just like if they're not on track for a traditional route, then we do our best to ensure we have a route for them. Either that means that based program, or it means going to Phoenix Academy or to Life Christian Academy. The biggest point is that every scholar has a plan.
Okay, do we have any more questions about the budget or any other item in the principal's report?
And we've amassed over $4.2 million in scholarships year to date, and that's climbing still. That's not including Hope Scholarship or Achieve Atlanta Scholarship or athletic scholarships, as well as like we're hoping that Aquinas Clemens gets the Gates Millennial Scholarship as well. So we're aiming to to exceed the bar of over 4 million, of course. Right now we're at, I think, $4.2 million in scholarships approximately for our senior class. And so so that's exciting as well. And that's not including Achieve Atlanta and Hope Scholars who are qualified.
Yeah, our top 10 ceremony today was really nice. Miss White and Miss Monago and our counseling staff did a really good job of putting that on.
Yes, we had a top 10 student ceremony today. And it was really powerful for for our families. Actually, and I'm not saying this to be biased, but 8 of our top 10 students are young men, which is really fantastic to see. You don't see that very often. At the end, it goes to it goes to the testament of like the mentorship and leadership we've done for gathering our boys and bringing them in. And we also have 2 young ladies in the top 10 spiritual scholars, one going to the military armed forces. And so that's just more, celebration for Carver's team as we continue to just drive it all home and like achieve new outcomes. We're also while we're talking about our school, we're adding AP Computer Science next year as well to increase our AP course loads to 9 AP courses. We're also adding an aviation pathway, and that started as a thought. And we're building a plan, but now our students will be able to leave with the experience of actually like potentially having a certification in aviation. And then we'll be also in the future adding a agricultural pathway as well to continue to promote the farm and that vertical alignment from our feeder schools. And so that's also very exciting.
Absolutely. All right. So if there's no other questions, are there any announcements anybody has? Okay. So I believe we have reached, let me just double check to make that sure. We have reached the end of our agenda here. Why did I lose it in the middle of the, that isn't it. All right, where did my agenda go? There it is. All right. Yeah, that's the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, all in favor of adjourning, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we are adjourned, guys. Thank you.